Hello everyone and welcome to Dialogue. Today I'm here with Colleen Craig. Colleen resides in the beautiful Central Coast, San Luis Obispo, California. She started her career as a journalist and found a passion for screenwriting. Her screenplay, A Place Called Knock, has won the best screenplay competition here at the Ojai Film Festival. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, it's got to be a fantastic experience to win the screenwriting competition.
It is, and it's especially meaningful to me because it's inspired by a journey that I took with my best friend 20 years ago when he was dying. And he was a world traveler, an adventurer, and we were very young. That was 45 years ago. He picked me up in my LA apartment and he said, "Have I got a place to show you?" And he drove me to Ojai. So the fact that this story brought me to Ojai really means a great deal to me. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. I really love the story. I think that it's written, the central protagonist is a middle-aged woman, and there's not a lot of great stories written for middle-aged women that are not just cookie-cutter housewife horror and all of that. And I just love how she has to care for her father who has dementia, and then she finds that her cousin has cancer and grants him his dying wish to take him on this trek across Ireland. And it's a really fun romp. It's got these comedic, lighthearted, I was laughing out loud
I'm so glad.
when I read it. And yet underneath all of that is the things that we all face as we age and the really hard stuff of life, facing death, facing our parents not remembering who we are. And that's just such a skill. So tell me about how you honed your screenwriting skills.
Well, I'm an inveterate storyteller. I've done The Moth. On the Central Coast where I live now, there's something called Reboot, which is very similar. So I like to get in front of people and tell stories. And this story, though, I had thought about it for about 15 years. And almost everything in there happened to me. It's not my narrative, it's not my story, but it resonates with things that have happened in my life. So you live with the characters for a long time, in my case 15 years, and pretty soon I just started hearing them talking to me and telling me what they wanted to be said, and I listened.
It was such a wonderful drawing of a diversity of people. I love how the cousin is a monk. And he has all of these beliefs, and he's sort of the really lighthearted guy and easygoing, and he's the one who's passing, but he's sort of ready, right? And she's struggling with all of this stuff, and he's the one saying, "Go out and live your life," and this journey. So you're saying that it's based on your own journey.
Yes, in a way, and what I find interesting about the story is that ostensibly she's taking him on this journey, but he's really taking her.
Right.
He wants her out of there. He wants her to see what the world offers her before he goes, and is he successful, and what secret awaits them when they get to Knock, which I am Catholic and raised Catholic. And I had been to Fatima and Lourdes as a traveler. And then when I was in Ireland about 10 years ago, I went to Knock. I'd never heard of it. And it's the third largest pilgrimage site in Europe. And I'd never known about it as a Catholic. So there is a real place called Knock where miracles have supposedly occurred.
Which I loved that in the story. And I loved how on the journey, on the windy road, "Stop the car!" And she ends up giving birth to a baby calf. And I just thought that was so hysterical. How did she come up with that? Did that really happen?
No, that part didn't happen. But that's from the screenplay, sort of construct of how can you raise the stakes, and instead of how can you tell the story in an interesting fashion, and certainly the birth of a cow would be interesting.
I just thought it was so funny. I mean, it really had those wonderful elements of humor, and it was so rich. And that scene just sort of really took it over the edge, and yet kept the story on track in the direction that it was going, and dealing with the life issues. And I think that is life, right? We end up pulling off the road for some insane thing in our lives, but we're still on the road to the destination that we're trying to go. So I just thought it was so beautiful. I just loved it so much. And I'm really excited to listen to the table read tomorrow. How do you feel about having a group of actors come and read your movie?
I'm really excited about it. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to offer. I had people doing different parts of it for me so I could hear it, but to have the whole thing from beginning to end is such a generous offer and a wonderful part of this festival. I really thank Bruce for making that happen. And I know a lot of screenwriters would be so grateful for that chance.
So what was the underlying message that you really wanted to convey?
Well, I did have a little bit of, now the story of the guy that was the head of the NRA at one point, that in fact happened to me. That was Charlton Heston was the guy. And, but that was 20 years ago, and it didn't have the same charge that it does now.
Well, particularly with what's going on with gun control now.
And I happen to be extremely left of center, and so I had thought maybe I should take that out and put in fracking, or something that wasn't quite so charged. And my agent and a number of other people talked me out of it, because the point is we're more than just one thing. And so right now in this kind of identity culture, we see somebody and we identify them as one thing only.
Right.
So this man is now the NRA guy, but he's also a grandfather and a big supporter of the school and a loving human being and a fine actor. And so I feel like we need to learn to talk to each other around these identities that we create.
So who would you see playing the lead role?
I would like Jessica Chastain, or that's really who I wrote it, with her in mind.
I imagined her as older because she had a parent that was older that was having dementia. So that's interesting, because I don't think I knew, I didn't read her as a 30-something, younger, happening, hip person. I read her as being more mature and having more life experience. So that's really interesting. So you could actually really cast it in a pretty diverse way.
You could. Her daughter's 7, so she would be in her 30s or late 30s, and her father's
Although
in her...
women are having children later these days.
They are indeed. They are indeed.
She could be late. Okay, yeah.
Her dad is in his late 60s, so it's kind of early dementia.
Okay.
And they had to wait a long time to have her. In the screenplay, they waited 15 years to have her. So he would be a little bit older. But that's a good note.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I mean, I really thought like Emma Thompson. I thought she is so quirky and fun, and I just pictured her, just really struggling with this career at a school where there's all these mean moms and bureaucracy. And she's like, life is short, and these are the people that are important to me. I'm out. I'm going to Ireland. I'm going to do this road trip because this is my cousin's last moments on earth, and why am I staying here mired in BS? And to me, part of the meeting really was to live your life fully, and not, there's so many times in life that people don't reach for their full potential. And I felt like, there's sort of something in me that just wants to take off and travel the world and really experience life in a way that is just so much more powerful than sort of the day-to-day grind that we all get used to.
That's certainly part of it. Although I took care, because they were mean moms, they are antagonists, but they do have a legitimate point. They do have a reason to be upset.
Right.
Guns are serious things,
Right.
So I didn't want to make them, I hope I didn't make them caricatures, as I'm saying.
No, they weren't.
had a valid point.
But there was that aspect of it where she's just dealing with these women and they're just sort of the mean mom clique, and I just,
That is true.
Yeah. So what are you writing next?
Well, I have a couple ideas in mind. I just wrote my very first children's book that is going to be published.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes,
Good for you.
I'm just trying different genres, and again, it's something I wanted to write for a long time, and I have more time now, and so I'm really pursuing these things. Script is like a 2-year commitment for me, so when I decide, it takes all of my time.
Right. So, but you also act as a consultant.
Yes.
So you do script doctoring, or you edit books, and do you write books?
I have not written a novel. I've written essays that have been anthologized. I edit books and memoirs and scripts.
Do you help write memoirs?
Yes,
you do.
I do. I wrote one several years ago that was written by, I helped her, she was an Auschwitz survivor, and it's now used in Holocaust studies programs in colleges across the country.
Wow.
That was such an honor to work with her.
Yeah.
But what I do, my background is in marketing, and what I do, whether it's a product or a service that you have, the most effective way of sharing it or selling it is to tell it as a story, as a narrative. So I help people find their narrative, their story. So I get to find and tell stories all the time. I just finished a 700-page foundational book for canine companions for independence, and it was all about their story and how to present it. So I feel like I have the best of all jobs.
That's
I really
wonderful.
enjoy it.
So if somebody wanted to engage your services, how would they find you?
I have a website, ColleenCraigWriter.com, and they can find out all about me.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so excited to see the table read tomorrow.
I am too.
And just really thank you so much for taking the time to come to talk to us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That's it for this episode of Dialogue. We'll see you